Hey, Lincoln, two-part linebacker question. At the media day, Mason Cobb talked about how having Easton here has really taken pressure off him and helped him play freer and more confidently. What have you seen different in Mason? And then with Eric Gentry, you've had a couple years to evaluate the best ways to use him. How does this scheme maybe better take advantage of his unique skill set?
Yeah, for Mason, yeah, I mean, I think having Easton here has, um, in some ways maybe lighten the load, probably in some ways from a leadership standpoint, and I think even on the field as well, they've pushed and challenged each other. Both those guys have played a good amount of ball. Um, they're both coming in here learning a new system, and so but they've kind of fed off of each other and also like challenge each other at the same time. And you can see that. And so, yeah, I do feel what Mason's saying. I believe it to be accurate. Um, so that's been a good pairing so far. Yeah, for Eric, yeah, he's obviously a unique skill set. Never really had a linebacker, with a skill set like him. I think two part. I mean, I think this scheme, does fit him. I think our defensive staff's creativity, particularly, Coach Lynn and his vision, allows us to do a lot of different things with him, and tailor some roles that we feel like he could be really successful in. So I think that's been a positive. I think the fresh start, for him, with the new defensive staff, it has been a positive. He's developed some strong relationships already, and then I think some of it is Eric is growing up, and he's, regardless of who's coaching him, I think he is, he's strung together some good periods of practice here where he's been really steady, really consistent, and that's what, like most of the guys here, that's the challenge. But he's, from spring on, it's been he's been pretty consistent. Hadn't had many down days. He's been the most consistent that he's been in our time with him here.
Thank you.
RJ?
Hey, Lincoln, Danton's talked about going slow so that you guys could play fast defensively, basically since he's got here. Given where we're at on the calendar, how would you assess the communication of the defense and just how fast you guys are playing on that side of the ball?
Yeah, communication's good. Excited about the way we're communicating, excited about the limited number of busts that we've had. And I think that was we were very intentional about that in the beginning, like he's talked about, like I've talked about. I think we, instead of trying to put too much in the beginning, it was more, go slow, put things in, but have a high level of like a high standard of performance, like high expectations from the beginning. Like, okay, we don't have much in, we're going really slow, we're going to be very detailed, we're going to learn it. But because of that, there shouldn't be busts, as opposed to, you go out there and try to put in 15 things and you kind of understand there's going to be some busts, but you're getting 15 things put in. And so the standard from the beginning was, we're going to go at a pace where you guys are going to be able to learn it, and you should hit the field, and there should be, very minimal communication busts, very minimal scheme busts. And then as they've gotten it, then we've just kind of slowly added and added. And so, yeah, we've got the things in now that we want to have in. They have communicated well on the field. We've tried to challenge them in the situations that we've put them in, and we'll continue to do so. But so far through the installation, it feels like something that our guys have handled very well.
Thank you.
Jude?
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. Coach, Pete Carroll is scheduled to return to campus as a teacher this year. And, Alabama has retained Nick Saban as kind of an analyst to help Kalen DeBoer smooth into that position. Is there any chance you could see a same possibility for Pete Carroll?
I'd love to have him. He's great. Coach has been great to me. We've had a chance to catch up pretty often, check in with each other. He's been a great resource and, great person to be able to pick his brain, and he's been very good to me. So yeah, shoot, I'm excited he's going to be here more, and would be crazy to not take advantage of having him around. So whether it's in an official role or not, he's made it very clear that, we've got a good open line of communication. It's one that I appreciate and respect very much, and we'll always never hesitate to pick up the phone and call him or to reach out to him, because of obviously how successful he was as a coach, and he's obviously got a great knowledge of this place. I've been appreciative of his help and his friendship, and be glad to have him around a lot more.
Ryan Karchi?
Hey, Lincoln. Having been around a lot of smart quarterbacks over your coaching career, I wonder how you think Miller's mind and just kind of the mental side of his game stand out to you, and also wonder how you think you'd stack up against him playing chess. I know he's got many years of experience playing.
Yeah, he would beat me in chess. I haven't played a lot, so I don't like my chances there. Yeah, he's a really smart kid. He is. He can process it quickly. He understands the game. He understands not just what we're doing or what a defense is doing, but why they're doing it. He's got the ability to process it or to make adjustments quickly, just because he does get the bigger picture. And he's learned a lot. He's pushed himself hard to do it. You could see when we got here, like, naturally he was a smart guy, but he's invested a lot of time in it, and it's important to him. Very detailed, very, very mentally in tune during meetings, during practice. So I mean, he's, in the world of quarterbacks, he's certainly on the higher end in terms of what he can process, what he can retain, the way that he can adjust, the way that he can understand what all 22 are doing. It's pretty impressive.
Luca?
Hey, Lincoln, you talked about this a little bit, Indianapolis. There are a lot of reports just of USC, potentially looking into Courtney Morgan from Alabama, and kind of that GM role, and just with kind of the landscape, the way that the game is changing, and NIL and the importance of that role. Just, what are your thoughts on just, the deal that he has there, what that could do to kind of create, an arms race for that type of position? And are you guys potentially looking to add help sort of in that general room or role?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly those, these off the field types of roles have gotten more, more popular. They've become more valuable as time has went on. And that started a long time ago. Whether it's people in player development, whether it's a recruiting staff, a personnel staff. I mean, look at all these programs 10 years ago, look at them 5 years ago, look at them now, and I see no reason, given the fact that all these things that have changed. I mean, they're going to continue to grow. These support staffs are continuing to get bigger. The portal has changed a lot. Obviously, NIL and upcoming rev share have changed things a lot. The way that recruiting has evolved has changed a lot. The uptick and, having a really good player development, director or staff has changed a lot. And those have all been good things for the game. So I think those staffs are going to always continue to evolve. It's been great to have, Jen and Jay, from an administrative side. It's great to have, Dave on our staff, who has been, part of this at many other staffs, has been a chief of staff, has kind of, that was really when he worked for Coach Leach. I mean, that was kind of the big deal he was in charge of, was building staffs, researching, kind of the different trends, both in the NFL and college, how these staffs are evolved. And so, right there, I've just got three people that we can really rely on to not only look at what we're doing now, but planning for the future. And so we're trying to live in the present and be present, but also think ahead, whether it's hiring staff members, whether it's how we're outfitting the new facility. We're trying to be very forward thinking. Like I said, fortunate to have three people really right here, kind of that are right here with us, that are, really thinking of that, spending a lot of time on that on a daily basis. And I'm sure we're going to continue to evolve.
Nick.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask you, you talked about Miller Moss, but also wanted to ask you just about what you've seen in the growth between Miller Moss and Zachariah Branch as far as their communication, being able to prepare in schemes and being able to get themselves ready in the offseason. What specific areas have you seen them grow in?
Well, I mean, I think it's, for all those guys, it's been working to, one, improve their individual games, and two, you're always looking to those guys to be able to get on the same page. Quarterbacks and the skill guys have to be radically in sync. It's really important, and you build that through time spent together in the film room, on the field, through communication, talking through the little intricacies of routes or progressions, or how we want this versus this look, and vice versa. And so it's just a process of building those bonds and that chemistry together. And so those guys have invested a lot of time together. Miller's been here, for several years with these guys, throwing balls to them. Then a lot of kind of work behind the scenes on the practice field, and obviously a lot of work here, from off season, spring ball, summer, all that leading into this fall camp. So they've worked hard. Got to continue to do so, got to continue to improve and build that chemistry, and we'll get a chance to see where it's at here pretty soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Justin?
Lincoln, you guys have answered some of the questions you had coming into fall camp, but what's the biggest thing you still need to learn about the team over the next week?
Well, I think now it's, now you start to, here pretty quick, you get into just our ability to really prepare. Your practices change a lot, when you start transitioning from a fall camp where you're doing a lot of just good on good and skill development and teaching schemes. All of a sudden now you're preparing for, a specific opponent. And it's different for your coaches. It's different for your roster. The schedule's different. And so our ability to, I'm excited about what we've done in camp, but now our ability to start to transition to prepare for our upcoming opponents is going to be really critical. And so, over the next week, to me, that's going to be that'll be very, very important for us. Is that, how do we handle that preparation really without our whole team? I mean, throughout our whole team. I mean, everybody's going to look at the guys that are going to play in the game, but I mean, how important do your scout teams, become this time of the year, where you're trying to emulate what that other group does. And the better you can do it, the more you get the rest of the team prepared. How does your team handle the fact that, now there's, reps are going to start getting streamlined more to players that are going to play in games. How do those guys handle it? Maybe a guy that's not getting as many as he was in fall camp. Is he still staying mentally in tune? Is he still preparing, giving great reps? Because, his time is coming here at some point. And a lot of times how good you are as a team and your ability to sustain it and be a championship level team depends on those guys, because as injuries happen, roster changes, all of that, does your team continue to climb and perform at a high level, or do you feel those impacts and do you dip back down? And so those are just the natural challenges this time of year that are coming up for us, and we've got to be able to handle it well.
Jack?
Lincoln, you had time after you were hired to analyze the roster you were inheriting. I'm curious, what are the things you remember most about your first couple interactions with Miller, both on and off the field?
Yeah. I liked him a lot from the beginning. I could tell he was a smart kid. I could tell that SC meant a lot to him. I think, kind of given his previous time here, I don't know that he was, I think he was kind of interested if there was going to be a similar belief in him that like he could do it here. Was he going to get the opportunity? I think he was kind of trying to figure that out, which I understand. And I told him from the beginning, once we had some movement in the room and then Caleb decided to come here, I told him he would always get an opportunity. I'll give him reps as long as he commanded them. And, and he told me as long as that was the case, that he would fight it out until he didn't have one. And, I think, he would say that we were up front and what we told him was going to happen happened. And and he's certainly done the same way. He stuck it out, as obviously again is very well documented. But yeah, no, I enjoyed him at first, and I could tell he was really into learning the offense and was really into ball, and just a good relationship certainly grew from there.
We have time for two more. Connor?
Coach, you mentioned recruiting earlier. In general, could you shed some light on your high school recruiting strategy from an NIL perspective?
No. That's what you were looking for, right, Connor? That's exactly what you were hoping for me to say.
Not quite.
No, I mean, yeah. I've talked a lot about our NIL and how it's evolved. I mean, yeah, certainly we're able to be, more aggressive with high school guys than we've ever been with it. And a lot of that's because our NIL has gotten a whole lot better, and House of Victory and all those have done a phenomenal job. And so they've, you don't want to be going to a gunfight with a knife, in the beginning we were going to a gunfight with like a toy sword. So it's we're definitely, we've made a lot of progress. Those folks have done a great job. And I think some of it too, just our strategy, and just, I know I've talked about this some, but just our strategy on like how many high school guys we're taking, who we're taking, what we're targeting has changed drastically. I mean, we have really shifted, as I've told you, we were going to, we've really shifted, not completely away from the portal. I don't think we'll ever be completely away from it, but you just look at you can just look at the numbers, like, right, we're headed to becoming the developmental program that we want to be long-term for the next 10 or 15 years. And so with that, there's been more high school recruiting. There's going to continue to be more. The high school recruiting takes longer. It's not as fast and furious as portal recruiting. And so a lot of times you've got to have relationships that are developed for multiple years, and having some of the consistency that we've had on certain parts of our staff for a long time now makes a difference on that as well. So it's become a bigger part of, what we're doing each and every year here, and that's going to continue to happen. And obviously, as long as our NIL continues to climb, then, we'll continue to be as aggressive there as we need to be.
Antonio?
Lincoln, we talked about in the spring a lot about you giving Luke Heward the quarterback coaching duties and that allowing you to do more stuff. What's that kind of look like in season for you in terms of how it changes how you go about things?
Yeah, we're getting a chance to test drive that this week a little bit. I mean, we have a pretty good idea of how it's going to work, but we're going kind of through a simulated game week right now, and so we're able to test drive the particulars. But yeah, I mean, I still have time in the room with the quarterbacks and with Luke there every single day. I mean, I never have a day where I'm not in there. Some days are going to be more than others, some days less than others. I think it's really been Luke and myself just spending time together and deciding, all right, what are the things that I need to be in there for, or that I'm going to cover, and what are the parts that he's going to cover. And we kind of have that figured out each and every day, where I get mine done at various points, and then I'm able to be a part of special teams or defense or other offensive or defensive position meetings, and which has been great. I mean, he's done a great job. I think our quarterbacks have been, it's been good to get feedback from them, especially having, like Miller and Jake in the room, who have been here with us the entire way. So they've kind of seen it both ways. And so their feedback has been, I think, valuable for us to really see, what's going to help them the most, because that's all that matters, right? It's what's going to help them the most and help the team the most. And so I feel like we're finding, a nice balance. But I got a lot of trust in Luke. He's done a great job with them. And that's, as I told you, that's a really difficult thing just to give up. It's and you have to have a crazy amount of trust in someone, but I got that much trust in him, and I think it's been great. And I know I've loved getting a chance to be more present in some of these other parts. And I think it's helped us. I think it's helped our team so far.